And recording rolling.
Okay.
So just an announcement to people
Mm-hmm.
in Rumble and YouTube and wherever you're watching. X is very strange today. So the live stream on X, if you can even get to it, I don't even know if it's going there because it's almost impossible to load a page. But we're sending stuff to them, and Rumble or YouTube's probably your best bet at this point. So anyway, there you go. You're good to go, David, anytime.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you so much, Mr. Jones. Okay. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the program. David Masters here. I will be delving into more amazing insights by my dad, Roy Masters, on deception and confusion. And to accompany that, I have some clips from America's Book of Secrets on mind control. Do you ever have any doubt that mind control is being used? I mean, seriously, when you watch the way the left operates, it's straight out of the Communist Book of Psychopolitics playbook. I mean, it really is. The psychological tactics being used against the people of this country, the lies, the confusion, the deception, like 24/7 in every possible way through every feed. Yeah, the book of psychopolitics is constantly chipping away. At least it's trying to. Some of us have a firewall to keep out the interesting and dark influences, coming at us all day long, every day. And thank God you do. But if you don't have a firewall, then you're in trouble. And I want to read something to you that I wrote this morning. And this is very apropos to this whole thing of your mind being assailed all day long, every day. The headline is "The Difference Between Being the Effect of a Cause as Opposed to Being the Cause of an Effect." Now, this is an enormous distinction, right? Because you've got to be one or the other. It's very difficult to be neither of those, either the effect of a cause as opposed to being the cause of an effect. So here's my little statement on that. Power is the difference between living as the echo of someone else's or something else's decision versus becoming the origin point of what happens next. When you're the effect of a cause, you are downstream, reacting, adapting, repairing, catching up, explaining yourself, living inside the story someone or something else already started writing. Your energy is spent managing consequences that were not your choosing. Time feels like it's moving toward you, pressing you. When you become the cause of an effect, you step upstream, you initiate, you plant something that didn't exist before. You create ripples that will reach other people tomorrow, next month, next decade. Time now flows out from you instead of toward you. Even if the result is delayed, even if you don't see the full harvest, you have shifted from being a passenger in reality to being one of the writers of it. The longer you delay between your actions and its visible consequences, the bigger the ladder, the more leverage that single choice usually carries. So think about it. A text sent today, a boundary drawn this year, a skill quietly practiced for 3 years, a small betrayal refused, a vision stubbornly protected. These things often appear insignificant in the present moment, yet they are among the most powerful causes precisely because their effects arrive much later after they've had time to compound, and then compound again. That's just one thought that I had this morning. And I've talked about this idea of the difference between being the effect of a cause. What is being the effect of a cause? Well, it's you either being programmed subliminally without even realizing it. And usually that happens from the time you come into this world before you know it's happening. You're being programmed by your environment to be a reflection of the environment. That's living somebody else's story. But when you begin to awaken, you begin to see that you're really not an authentic version of you. That's when the shift begins to take place. The shift toward a greater awakening. And as that shift occurs, you then start to have the counter influence of being the cause of an effect, which means if you're not reacting, if you're not responding in the wrong way, once you become aware, something changes. Now, what changes? And let me just go on to read a little bit more of this. The difference between being subjective and objective, and here it comes. Being objective means you attempt to stand as far outside the story that somebody else is writing as possible. You try to see the cause and effect chain itself, regardless of how it makes you feel, what you want to be true, or which side benefits you. In other words, you really do become detached from outcomes. Being subjective means you're inside the chain. Your perception, emotions, identity, needs, fears, loyalties, and hopes are active participants in how you register and describe what is happening. All right, now, the now connection, that to the cause-effect distinction. Here it comes. When you are the effect of a cause, you are almost always highly subjective by default. Something happens to you or around you. It touched your nervous system, your history, your ego, your survival strategy. Therefore, the way you experience and report the event is soaked in your personal position inside the chain. The closer you are to being only an effect, the more subjective your lens inevitably becomes. When you become the cause of an effect, you gain the possibility, not the guarantee or greater objectivity. Why? Right? You gain the possibility of greater objectivity because the moment you decide to act first, to initiate rather than react, you step at least partially outside the existing emotional gravity well. You are no longer simply being shaped by the incoming wave. You are starting to shape the next wave. That small distance between what was done to me and what I now choose to do creates the first crack of spiritual and psychological separation that allows some objectivity to leak in. You think about what is being said here. If you are not in an objective state, you will be in a subjective state. You can't help it. Just put it to you this way. Have you ever ridden a roller coaster? I like roller coasters personally. They're fun. But when you're on the roller coaster, when you strap in and the roller coaster, at first it starts going up the big steep incline, right? Slowly creeping up, up, up. And then it gets to the top and it goes over. And now, boom, you're going 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, or even faster. You are in a completely subjective state, but you still have the ability to experience it. Even though you're in an objective or a subjective state, you still have the ability to experience it objectively. Let's just say you remove the emotion or the fear or the strangeness of the whole thing. You remove yourself from that, and now you're just on a roller coaster ride. Now, And one of the reasons I like roller coaster rides is because it doesn't have that kind of upsetting or disturbing effect on me. It's just fun. It's great. I like feeling weightless at moments. It's fun. But to a person who's highly emotional, they feel out of control. So this is the difference. This is what meditation, the Be Still and Know meditation, actually teaches you. And after a while, it becomes very automatic. I've started meditating when I was about 18 years old. Pretty much, my entire life. I never stopped. I knew I never could. Because once you gain the smallest amount of objectivity, you naturally want to be there and find a way to have more. All right. Be Still and Know is the exercise at FHU.com. You can go and find out more about it at FHU.com. I'll be right back. All right. And welcome back. Now, I hope that was edifying to you. I hope you get a little bit out of the difference between being the effect of a cause or the cause of an effect. When you stop absorbing the influences around you, you start creating a rippling effect of objectivity. Objectivity is a force. It is absolutely a force. But see, the average person does not know because they think that if they are not ruled by their emotions, that there's something wrong. That's not the case. When you are ruled by your emotions, either positive or negative, you are in a subjective state, and whatever produces those emotions, those feelings, and the thoughts that proceed from them is in charge. And this is why the dark side and the powers that be understand that you're subject to influences that you yourself are not even aware of. I have a couple clips here from America's Book of Secrets on mind control. And I just want to play the first clip for you.
My opinion about whether the programs ended in 1972 is, if they did end, the CIA and the military would not be doing their job. Purely from a defensive perspective, we've got to have some knowledge, expertise, technology for detecting these people who are coming at us, learning how to interrogate them, get through these barriers in their minds.
MKUltra could have kept advancing behind the scenes in different ways. It could be far more advanced than it was in the 50s and 60s.
Are the secrets learned from the MKUltra experiments really lost to the ages? Or are some of those tactics still being refined even today? There are those who insist the research is continuing, and that the next battle to master mind control is shaping up to be an all-out war.
It is an all-out war. We're already in that war. We've been in that war. It started at the beginning, the mind control war. And again, we are taught about this in the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is like the kindergarten of mind control. And why? Because you had two wooden heads, supposedly, according to the story, Adam and Eve. They didn't have any sense of what was right or wrong in those formative moments. And they were subject to these forces. And that dark entity, whatever it was, knew. And all it was waiting for was an opportunity to implant an idea so that that idea could grow inside of the mind and turn them into agents in that matrix. If you think of the Garden of Eden as a matrix, it was a genesis of mind control. And all of the mind control techniques that we see employed in this very day and age are absolute extensions of the original experiment on the first people in that environment. The environment is what shaped and reshaped them. Now, I'm beginning to play some of the audio from Roy Masters about deception and confusion. Here it comes.
Now you have Pol Pot with his murdering gang of strangling murderers, executioners. That's how you have those things. Hitler Germany's. You do unto others gradually exponential order of things, a growing number of people growing exponentially, like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, etc. It grows very quickly. It grows like bacteria. They double every few minutes and exponentially like that. In an hour, you have billions, the rate of reproduction. With a population, you can actually have a dictatorship in, a space of 5 or 6 years. If you have hate in your heart, you've got to express that hate. You can't express it towards those who dominate you because they've already diminished you below them. And you can't stand up to them. Besides, you became like what you hated, and you are under a compulsion to do unto others what was done to you. You can stop this tide by learning not to forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Do you get it? Forgive them means to forgive. To be prepared to take the stripes, knowing they can't help themselves, and don't take it personally. You're dealing with a naughty little kid, basically. I don't care how old they are. A naughty little angry kid who's not satisfied until they make you miserable. More miserable than them, and that makes them happy. Gives them a rush. Now, see how simple that is. Now, if you get it, and you got 2 children, 3 children, then you take it out on them. They will conform. They will rebel. You got problems. That's all there is to it. The name of the game is to intimidate. That's what terrorism is all about. That's what liberalism is all about. I'm sorry, but that's all what some forms of religion is all about. Religion and politics are exactly the same in the conversion process. Religion should not be involved in mass conversion. You should not be imposing your religion on your children. All you're doing is creating converts and perverts. God wants volunteers. You have to live in such a way that they're glad, they love what they see in you, not upset by the phony, cruel representation or misrepresentation of what God is. And not just respond to the cloth, or your dress, your uniform, your ministerial sacraments and rituals and songs. It's all bullcucky. The whole lot. Bull, you don't need it. Can you imagine Jesus walking around in priest clothes and tassels and lighting candles and singing songs? No, he talked quietly to everybody. They listened, spellbound. It's a God spell rather than a hell spell.
So there you go. This somebody was not paying attention when I played the clip from America's Book of Secrets on Mind Control. It's on the History Channel. Amazing. It's an amazing series. You can find it probably on YouTube. Lance Reddick, who was famously in the John Wick movies as the hotel maitre d', a great presenter, unfortunately passed away a couple years ago. And I'm going to play more clips from that, plus more Roy Masters identifying the reality of how conditioning changes us and turns us into clones of the conditioner. We can't help it. That's why you don't resent people. Forgive them. Let them, pray to God to free them, for they know not what they do. FAQ.com is where you find out more about the Be Still and Know exercise. I'll be right back. And welcome back. How about another clip from America's Book of Secrets on Mind Control? Now, Here's the other thing you have to keep in mind. And I'll read a little bit more of what I wrote today on objectivity. In one sentence, objectivity is much easier to approach when you're moving from living as the effect, where your whole nervous system is screaming, this is happening to me. And when you begin to realize what's happening to you, it makes you uncomfortable. And you don't want to take anxiety medication. You don't want to drink or smoke or overeat because your nervous system is telling you something is happening. You want to pay attention to your intuition. It's the name of my book, by the way. But you'll never buy it. That's okay. So, objectivity is much easier to approach when you're moving from living as the effect to living as the cause, where you can begin to ask, what do I want to make happen next? And you know what? Think about how many positive things can happen. I call it a positive domino effect, right? Usually we think of a domino effect as being negative. Things fall down. But a positive domino effect is the exact opposite, right? So the question that comes to mind, but maybe not, maybe you don't even question anything. Maybe you just get very objective. So you ask, and the question really is, what do I want to make happen next? A question that by its nature requires you to pull your head a few inches outside of your own story. The more times you successfully act as cause instead of effect, the wider that crack of detachment can grow, and with it, the real, though never perfect, possibility of seeing things more objectively. Being the effect keeps you busy, distracted. Being the cause, especially of things that only show up much later. And remember, it's all long term, right? You live for the momentary impulse, you're toast. Live for the long game. So especially if things that only show up much later makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Look at Jesus. Look at the exponent. Look at the incredible positive domino effect of Jesus dealing with evil thousands of years ago. How amazing. How amazing is that? Now, here's a little bit more for you. Intuition as the innate internal compass that humanizes us by connecting our finite selves to the eternal divine spark, echoing the Bible notion of the still small voice within Elijah and 1 Kings 19:12, or the Holy Spirit's guidance in discerning truth, John 16:13, represents an eternal essence rooted in our God-given autonomy and moral clarity. Psychologically, Carl Jung described intuition as one of the 4 primary functions of the psyche, an irrational yet profound mode of perception that fosters wholeness and authenticity, allowing us to transcend mere rational or sensory responses. However, this faculty erodes incrementally through repeated hypnotic responding, akin to the suggestibility in hypnosis studies by Milton Erickson, where individuals voluntarily surrender agency under stress. I'll say it again. Hypnosis studies by Milton Erickson show how individuals voluntarily surrender agency under stress, or in Stanley Milgram's obedience experiments demonstrating how authority and pressure contaminate personal will, leading to a loss of self-direction. Think about it. Think about it. It's real. Mind control is real. Mind control. Now, self-control, totally different potentially than mind control, because when your mind is being controlled, it can be controlled up close or remotely. Ideas get implanted in your mind, and then those ideas take on a life of their own. Why do you think they call people influencers? Hello? Hello? Here comes another Roy Masters.
My weapon of choice is I win by not losing. That's what I want you to do with me. Just listen. What's your reaction? I'll have you for dinner. What's your reaction? If you get angry, you get focused. Your hostility is your weakness. It is not a defense. So if you try to make me mad and I don't get mad, I have you. Now, I have you in a good way because the good in me is not disturbed. That's what's very disturbing, by the way, to the bad in you. And it then get inside because you react to my not reacting. Because your weapon is your advantage. The way the rottenness in you advances is to upset someone. And then you get inside them and they do unto others. You see that? Now that's your game. Got to break that down. Actually, the psychopath and the dictator has to break that down before he can kill you. Before he can kill you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The psychopath, right? They have to break you down. They have to break through your natural objective defense like children have. You know, I remember many times in my life, children being kind of cautious around certain people. And they look at those people and they see something the adults don't. What is that? Right? That's being still connected to the source of innocence. They just have it. It's natural until it's lost. So intuition humanizes us. It's the humanizing aspect of God's Holy Spirit. Knowing without reasoning, right? Intuition. You know that the word grok, which is used by Elon Musk for his search engine, to grok is exactly what the word intuition means. It means to comprehend. I grok what you're saying. It's a weird word. It was, somebody came up with it, I think in the 60s. But you see, I have to tell you, look, Elon Musk is no saint, but he's got something that he never lost. And so do you, potentially. You have that intuition that you were born with if you haven't traded it for something of no value. Think about it. Yes, indeed. Here comes another clip from America's Book of Secrets on Mind Control.
March 16th, 2018. The U.S. government's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, commonly known as DARPA, announces a bold initiative to develop what they call next-generation non-surgical neurotechnology. It is designed to allow the human brain to directly interface with machines.
We know that DARPA is exploring human-machine interfaces that include direct connections between the brain and outside systems. That's been from the beginning of DARPA's information technology mission, and it continues to this day. DARPA has created some of the most influential technologies of all time, things that we use and take for granted every day, including the project that became the internet. They've created self-driving cars, stealth technology, GPS that fits in your pocket. That's DARPA's specialty, to imagine the future and create it.
So if you think about it, you may have heard that when the United States forces went to apprehend Maduro, that they used sonic weapons. They used very interesting weapons. And that's the reason why the sneak attack was so stealthy. All these psychotronic and electronic warfare weapons were employed. So you don't think that those weapons in the hands of the enemy, you really think that you're going to live a nice, happy, healthy, wealthy life without interference from mind control? Nobody that I know does. Because weapons are constantly being employed. You turn on your TV, there's a weapon. You pick up your phone 100, 200, 300, 500 times a day and you look at it. That's a weapon. Got your attention. Objectively speaking, there's weapons aplenty. Not just, and we don't have to necessarily identify these, what do they call it, kinetic weapons. And I remember, Peter Ducey reported in 2014 how they had this weapon. It was an energy weapon, and he stood in front of it, and it almost burned him up. Frequency weapon. Yeah, we are living in the future now, because this is the point at which those weapons will be used potentially for crowd control disbursement. With these crazy people that are out there protesting, these federal agents who are doing their job. In the 60s, it was water cannons. Now it's directed energy weapons. Yeah, good for us. But if they fall into the hands, and they already have, I'm sure, of the enemy, we're in trouble. So even if you have a firewall for your mind, a high frequency sound or the heat produced by microwave weapons, you're going to give in. You're going to coalesce. You're going to say, make it stop. But I will tell you this, luck favors the prepared, and that's why the be still and know exercise is so important. It allows you to ride the roller coaster without feeling anxiety. Yeah, you may have some anxiety, but it won't destroy you. FHU.com. I'll be right back.
Put an insulation force around you like an immune system for your soul. So bad stuff bounces off of you, and you get to people. The good gets to people rather than the bad getting to you. And that will cure your problem. It will cure every problem that comes from being upset. You don't need upsetness anymore to function. And that might present a problem to some of you because you're addicted to it. The only way you feel alive is when you're upset about something. So, yes, sir.
Yes, but I do support your program. You've been an incredible help beyond words. Emotions, negative emotions or positive emotions.
You don't need either one.
Yes, excitement is a negative emotion.
It's all excitement. In other words, they going to a concert and get carried away with the music.
Yes.
And waving your hands. Right. You know how the kids do it.
Or seeing a pretty woman or getting excited by ads.
Exactly.
Like sports programs or TV programs.
That's right.
Where does that originate from? Humanly speaking, or spiritually speaking.
It's people who are fallen people. What I mean by fallen people, it's hard to explain, but when you don't have divine inspiration, I'm groping for words, you'll forgive me, because I'm talking about a realm that's hard to explain to the average individual. I think you'll understand it.
Yes.
When you don't have love, when you're not a porpoise or an ant,
yes.
Because they move and have their being, and there's no sort of decision of how they should react. Well, the human beings, when their souls have been emotionally traumatized and transferred to an external source in the world, a cruel father, say, or cruel mother,
yes,
or a gang leader, or a drug pusher, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or a dictator,
yes,
or a beautiful woman that sort of sucked you in.
Yes.
When you were vulnerable, when you were a child, because you've been violated. Once that conversion from the ballerina kind of moving and having your being from like an effortless way of life from within you, from your intuition.
Yes.
Intuition is human. It humanizes you, and it's internal. It's eternal, and of course it expresses itself as grace. Follow that?
Yes.
Now, when you've fallen from that, you've fallen from life.
Yes.
And so therefore, you fall into the animal state, ego animal. And this ego animal feels bored That's what boredom is. Boredom is the feeling that if you don't get something exciting to stimulate you, you feel miserable, bad about yourself. You feel like you're dying and
Right.
hopeless.
Right.
And so therefore you seek excitement.
Yes.
And so the excitement of a beautiful woman, she understands the need.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed when you start to feel that boredom, what's the first thing you do, especially when you're at home? Yeah, you flip on the TV or the radio, or you head for the fridge. You want something to satisfy, something to fulfill you, objectively speaking. You want something to stimulate, right? Because that's the idea. What my dad just said is that boredom is the evidence that you are sort of drifting away from the source of life. And yes, boredom is real, but at the same time, as you become more objective, you find that it's just a little bit of white space that you actually needed. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Nothing wrong with taking, and I've said, and my friend Catherine said that she's started doing what I do. Half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, no distraction, no TV. Just sit and contemplate. When you choose that, when you choose to sort of allow your thoughts to be, kind of trickle in, and then you can watch them and look at them and contemplate those thoughts, that's when you can make distinctions. Like, what am I really dealing with here? What's the right thing to do? What's the wrong thing to do? There's a natural process that happens, see, when you allow for the space for the process. If you don't allow for the space, if you're filling it up, and you start to say, oh, I'm bored, oh, and you feel yourself moving, you feel antsy is the word. What does it mean to be antsy? Anyway, objectively, when you feel yourself, there's something actually moving you. I got to get up. I got to move. You pace the floor. So yes, boredom is actually healthy as long as you allow for essential space to, open that little compartment where all your stuff is and start the process of cleaning it out. Right? Anybody have a glove compartment in their car that's full of junk? I mean, come on. Yeah, I'm sure you do. But more than that, I'm sure you've got a garage or a room or some space that's just cluttered. You ever wonder, what am I doing holding on to all this stuff? But the same is true of your mind and the closet of your mind. What are you doing holding on? Why don't you let it go? What do you got to lose anyway? What do you have to lose, really, seriously? If you let go of stuff you're never going to lose. I'm sorry, use. If you don't lose it and you don't use it, what's the point of it? Just let it go. Lose it. Who cares? Sell it. Make some money. Do something new. Start a new direction in life. But you're not going to do that unless there's something, a release mechanism, that is, be still and know. That's what it is. It's a release mechanism for moving in a new direction in the now. It's a now direction. Yes. FHU.com. I'll be right back. All right, continuing. Deception and confusion. A lot of that in the world we live in. As long as human beings have been on this planet or anywhere human beings are, there has to be these opposing forces that are at war over their ultimate destiny. Wouldn't you agree? I just can't see a world of neutrality. I don't think there is such a thing as, because we are designed for proclivities of various kinds. You know, the Bible says you're first of flesh and second of spirit. Well, you come into this world and you're a hungry baby crying, and you want what you want, and that's natural. And the way you get attention is by screaming and crying, kind of like the leftists out there protesting ICE, a bunch of really immature, babyized, useful idiots. Useful to those who direct their useless minds and lives. They're just, useless eaters, as the communists actually call them. But I don't think there's a place of neutrality. I don't think you can be, it's like, even when you're in a coma, if you're still breathing, you're still alive. And who knows where your mind is when you're in a coma? I mean, a lot of people have gone into comas and they have these out-of-body experiences or near-death experiences, whatever they may be. Your spirit doesn't cease to exist when your body isn't functioning. On an everyday basis. So what is neutrality? I mean, you could be neutral about, the color of the sofa, or, what kind of dishes you want. I mean, there's things I just don't care about one way or another. Who cares? But there's no such thing as metaphysical neutrality. It actually doesn't exist. I wrote something also about identity. And it's on the subject of transference. Because, see, this is where the war is being waged. The transference of another force, which you can also call an identity or an influence, into you. So I'll just read this. Identity transference through emotional or immoral induction occurs when the external forces, via intense fear, excitement, or manipulative arousal, exploit unconscious vulnerabilities to displace one's authentic, God-given self with a corrupted or foreign identity, often through voluntary but unwitting agreement rooted in deception. Psychologically, this echoes projective identification and transference processes. As an objective relations theory and transference-focused psychotherapy, this is something that Carl Jung talked about, where unwanted aspects of the self or induced emotions are projected outward and then re-internalized, leading to a fragmented or altered sense of self. Excitation transfer theory further explains how residual arousal from fear or thrill, like the roller coaster, amplifies susceptibility, allowing psychopoliticians, manipulative influencers, to induce conversion-like states by hijacking emotional responses, much like how stress or temptation erodes agency in hypnotic suggestibility. Biblically, this mirrors Satan's deceptive wiles, Ephesians 6:11, where he challenges identity. If you are, in Luke 4:3-9, or plants thoughts into the heart, Acts 5:3, and John 13:2, blinding minds, as in 2 Corinthians 4:4, through crafty temptations that corrupt the original self. The antidote lies in Ephesians 4:22-24. consciously putting off the old self. And this is what happens. I mean, even reptiles shed their skin, right? So they can grow. Consciously putting off the old self corrupted by deceitful desires and putting on the new self, created in God's likeness in true righteousness and holiness through renewal of the mind. Once equipped with the spiritual discernment and vigilant awareness, 1 Peter 5:8, believers develop an almost instant intuitive deflection, resisting the devil so he flees. No, but it's not, I got to change that word. It's not resist. It's detect. The devil doesn't want to be detected. And that's in James 4:7, restoring and protecting the authentic identity against such insidious displacement. And in Romans, do not imitate this world. Romans 12:2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of the mind, that you might prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Think about that. The command to be transformed suggests a profound change or exchange, metaphoric renewal through the renovation of fresh making, right? The mind, understanding, or inner disposition, enabling discernment of God's will, described as good, acceptable, and perfect. See, it all ties together. All of it. Everything ties together. It really does. But if you're not aware, then none of it makes sense. You ever get to scratch your head like, why is this so confusing? But it's not that it's confusing. It's just that you are not aware. You haven't come into the fullness of your capacity as a human being to see what is so, because you're too busy seeing the world as you are. Right? If the windows of perception were cleaned, then you'll be able to see. But we look through these windows that are hazy, through the eyes of a hazy mind. Here comes another clip from America's Book of Secrets on mind control.
A new technology that is actually very much on the verge of being a reality that is being fielded is we could have a sensor maybe on the surface of our head, or maybe implanted somewhere in our body, in our brain, or something that allows us to interact directly with our communications gear, our processing gear, our weapon systems, and so on. Now imagine we take that technology and we can control robots at a distance with it. Even fly drones. You put this sensor on and you think the right way, and you can increase the speed of the fan by thinking and controlling that thought with direct to mind or mind machine interfacing. With that type of capability, you could control all sorts of buttons and mechanisms in equipment.
Mind-machine interfaces will have many applications in both civilian and military life.
Well, in China, they have already developed a technology to read the thoughts of people at work. So if the guy at work is thinking about the girl in the next booth or whatever, the mind reading technology can sense the waves that are being produced by the brain and get docked or get in trouble just for not having that mind where it should be, according to the Chinese communist. You see, though, this is the brave new world. We're here. We are here. And, there's a new trend, by the way, among young people. They are disconnecting from their devices. They're going back to reading books, spending time with family and friends and doing things, actual things. So you got to look at what we're dealing with here and stop looking at it as you are, but look and see what is really going on. Yes. FA2.com is where you find out about the Be Still and No exercise. I'll just say it every day as long as I'm still alive. It will realign you to actual reality. FHU.com. Check it out. I'll be right back.
The two kinds of excitement.
Yes.
Sensual excitement like teas
Yes.
and art and
Right.
music.
Right.
And then there's the other excitement, cruelty,
How about
anger.
a church excitement?
Any kind of excitement,
Yes.
the excitement, the religious excitement is
Yes.
just as dangerous as a rock concert.
Yes.
Got it?
Yes, and then let me ask you this question. I observe my excitement. I used to get headaches. Could you believe this?
Well, yeah,
I
well, it's
do get too
conflict.
excited, I
Yeah,
get
that's
a
right.
headache.
You know, when I learned that when I was a young boy, I
Yeah.
learned that when I laughed at a joke, I
Yeah.
laughed too hard, I got a headache.
Yes, absolutely.
So I immediately knew something was wrong. Why do I get a headache when I'm laughing? I'm having conflict.
Yes.
I'm being suckered in to this person's presence.
Yes.
You see?
Uh-huh. So you come to the conclusion that excitement comes from another dimension? Does it?
Well, you don't need it.
Huh?
You don't need it. In other words, you listen. I'm a pleasant sort of fellow,
Sure.
and if I meet you at the airport, I can embrace you.
Right.
Hi, how you doing?
Right.
And be friendly.
Right.
But I'm not. You see people at the airport. Hello.
Or they get
how are
excited
you?
by yes. Or they get excited by their animals.
Yeah.
So if laughter is natural, love is
You hear me laughing all the time, don't you?
right. But so excitement is actually detrimental to your spiritual well-being.
Any form of artificially induced excitement, which you as a fallen being need to feel like you're alive when you're really dying.
And there it is again. There it is again. You see, you know what's funny about comedy? When something's actually funny, it's just natural to have to bust out laughing. When something's funny, when it strikes you as being sort of I like British humor, honestly, because there's some absurdities that are obvious and contradictions that are obvious, and it just strikes you as being funny. But I could never go to a comedy club. I'm telling you, that's one of the most artificial highs on earth. If you think the artificial canned laughter. Hello. I mean, much of comedy is not funny. It's mockery. It's cruel. And sometimes comedy is cruel. Okay. Because the truth sometimes is cruel, right? But, it's weird. The people that go to comedy clubs, they got to get they got to fill up their comedy tank with comedy gas. Hello? Yeah, Dave Chappelle was funny. There are people that were funny and continue to be funny, but they're funny because they tell the truth in a way that makes you look at it and go, yeah, that's true. So to me, whatever it is that is associated with actual truth, it can be useful because it can say something to you that you need to hear, whatever. I like satire as well. Somebody I used to see says, to me, satire is very funny. It's an art. But anything that puts gas in your tank, and let me put it to you this way. You're designed to live on a certain kind of energy. And so it is fuel, right? So if you put peanut oil in a gas tank, the car is going to conk out. If you put diesel in a gasoline engine, the car is not going to run. See, if you have substitute fuels for making you feel like you're going somewhere in life, and you gravitate and you're driven toward those artificial alternative fuels, it's evidence that you're dying. Yeah. Evidence that you're dying. Anxiety, not necessarily, but could be evidence that something is off, right? It's not necessarily, but it could be some kind of evidence that you need to see. Here comes another clip of deception and confusion.
Can excitement be considered a form of temporary escape to relief?
Yes, excitement is denial.
It's denial.
And you're right on the money. Everything that excites you at the very moment of its excitement, it motivates your body to move and have your being in a wrong way. At the same time, it blocks the realization that it's wrong and that you've become wrong.
So it's an illusion on your part. You're fooling yourself, thinking that you're easing your pain or suffering. But
exactly.
Observing it and seeing it for what it is, people laugh just to feel more comfortable within themselves.
Well, for example, let's take an example. Let's say you get mad.
Yes.
And you feel guilty for being mad. You resent it. You judge somebody wrong, or you judge someone, you get mad, and you fall from grace.
Yes.
Someone's got to you.
Yes.
Now you become addicted to being mad. You start to take on the nature of that person. Now you're guilty. The reason why you're guilty because you've got the nature of another person inside you because they've upset you.
Well, see, this is what I was talking about, transference. We are always in this war of transference through influence. That's all you have to know. When you get upset with somebody who's being insane, what happens to you? A little bit of that rubs off on you. That's what happens. A little bit rubs off. And so if you live in a household with crazy people, if you don't have a firewall for your mind, they will affect you and infect you. And you can feel it. You feel yourself being more and more irritable. When you watch the news, I turn off the news sometimes. And especially in the morning and the evening, I don't watch the news. I listen to myself. Like I go back and I do a self-review. What was today like anyway for me? I look and I question. What's useful, what's not? I look and I question. You see? Why? Why don't you? Why don't you do that? And if you do it with the meditation exercise, focusing your attention without will in the moment, to watch and to stand outside of your influences, because that's all they are, your thoughts are your influences. That's what happens. How much of your thoughts are actually yours? How many of them are original to you is the question. And the answer is not many, if any. Because your brain can tell you you're hungry, you got to brush your teeth, time to go to sleep. That's called perfunctory. And I like funk. I always liked funk, but not perfunctory. Perfunctory is terrible. It's just people who do things because it's the thing that they're supposed to do. Do things for the right reason. You'll be better equipped to do that if you get quiet and allow in the moment the be still and know exercise to help you get out of the thought stream and into the present moment. I'll be right back.
You see, now they got inside you, and now you've got conflict. How do you deal with it? Yes. Since they've upset you, they've changed the order of how you function. You're no longer functioning from grace. You're functioning from being upset. And the new identity, which is full of guilt, needs upset to function. And then for the moment you find something worse than yourself, you look to judge somebody, the moment you do that, the moment you're upset, you forget.
Yes.
You forget your own guilt by looking at the guilt of others, and you get a rush.
Yes.
But that makes you even worse.
Yes, I know.
The worse you feel, the more excitement, the more pleasure you feel by relieving the pain by more excitement until you're vomiting in your own beer.
I heard you talk about that subject about Spock. That it never came to realize. I never come to realize till I seen the program and seen how that man actually was very balanced in his emotions, and how this society tends to tell you if you're not excited or you're not emotional, you're not human. You're anti.
No. If you are emotional, you're not human.
I agree with your point of view.
It's just the opposite. That's the big lie. That's how they have you all.
Yeah.
They create the emotion and then tell you how natural it is, how lucky you are to have those wonderful feelings.
Yeah.
Those wonderful feelings are escape mechanism for the not so wonderful person you're becoming.
Okay. I've never heard a person, it rings the bell to my uneducated self. I do respect
Don't underestimate yourself, young man.
Well,
you are a very, very bright man. Don't sell yourself short. Do not think like that. You have a very, very bright future. You'll be off the streets very soon, and you're going to have your own business, and you'll come and see me.
Well, anyway, you have a pleasant day, and I appreciate your insight.
Yeah, again, how many of us underestimate ourselves? Truly. We do, because we've been told you're never going to amount to anything. Or unless you jump through these hoops, you're not going to go anywhere. So, but is that your idea or somebody else's? I mean, there is in India, they have a caste system. You live on one side of the street, you're privileged. If you live on the other side of the street, you're in the gutter. But it's the same thing. We have a mental caste system in this country. It's called education. That's such another total topic on its own, but they can educate you to be self-destructive, self-defeating, self-humiliating, and then your own opinions of yourself are your own worst enemy. Most people are their own worst enemy because they've accepted lies. Look at these stupid people protesting out in front of the ICE facilities and identifying with the bad guys. I mean, does that not show you that they're their own worst enemies and that they've been produced? They've been produced in this mold, this mindset of self-destruction and self-sabotage? What kind of person identifies with the wrong people? I ask you, what kind of person does that to themselves? Nobody. They're programmed. Every human being is born to succeed, but programmed to fail. Here's another clip of the America's Book of Secrets on Mind Control.
But there are those who believe that this same technology could also be used by DARPA as a new form of mind control. Like their counterparts at the CIA, DARPA-funded researchers have spent decades investigating how the human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
There are explicit programs of DARPA to read and write to human brains, whether it's through direct implants within the brain or wearing some kind of cap. So these things are being worked on, and we know that.
Well, yes. And of course, you have one. You have a mind control device. It's how you communicate with people, isn't it? Your phone. And your phone has pretty much everything that it's got a TV built into it. It's got everything you need. Everything you need. And then what it does is it delivers to you. It's like, what do you call it? DoorDash for ideas. Delivers you whatever it is you're interested in all day long, every day. DoorDash for ideas. Brain Dash. Here I come. Knock, knock, knock. Mm-hmm. And then you look at your phone and it's got you. And you can spend an hour, 2 hours. This is why young people are starting to wake up and realize, I'm not going anywhere in life. I am just not going anywhere in life. You got to disconnect. You just got to disconnect. Don't go to the next step. Go backward. Go back to the Stone Age if you can. It doesn't mean you don't need a phone, because you can have a phone. But just use it as a phone. And use it as a Rolodex, and that's it. And yeah, once in a while you get a news flash of this, that, or the other thing, but even the news flashes, give me a break. News. Ugh. What news? By the time it gets to you, it's not news anymore if you're actually paying attention. It's eye candy. Yeah. Just eye candy.
I wonder how many people understood that. And I wonder how many people cringed. But I always thought emotions was normal. Yes, as long as they're your emotions and not triggered by other people. As long as the trigger to that emotion is internal. So that what you know is right in your heart, you do it without procrastination. And you don't have to be screamed at or excited at or lured or teased or excited. So when you go out with a lady, sir, she can't seduce you, which means you've lost your power. And when you get married, you can continue losing the power you lost before you were married. Become a whole person. All your problems disappear. All the emotional... You'd be surprised how many hundreds of thousands of conditions are caused by that very thing we were talking about. As other people being the trigger to your emotions, not you being at the control and command within yourself. And I'm not talking about repression. There's no repression. You don't have to work hard at keeping your immune system active. It works all by itself, keeping the bad guys out. You have a spiritual immune system if you can learn to endure deprivation and cruelty and not hate your enemy. You listen to your Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, not my name. Big fat ego goes away right there. Thy kingdom come. That's right. Thy will be done. Yes, not other people's will. On earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily strength, bread. And forgive us our trespass as we forgive. Keyword. Freeze frame. Forgive us as we forgive. Christ forgave you. You've already been forgiven. It's a gift. You're clean. Forgive others, for they know not what they do. That's the key to the Lord's Prayer right there. The acknowledgement of a God, his will on earth. How can his will come on earth? Because you forgive others their trespass. Because you were forgiven. You're immune. All these years you read those words and repeated them mechanically, and you never understood them, did you?
Ah, that was great. That's what he was great at. He really understood. We were forgiven while we were still sinners. Think about that. Think about it. But you see, the emotions cloud our judgment. They cloud our vision. They cloud our reason. Those emotions that are produced in us by the Manchurian handlers of our life. They've been with us our whole life, right? In the form of a parent kind of look-alike, or somebody that, and you know, it's weird too. I mean, I met a man the other day who, he and his wife seemed so mismatched. And he was youngish looking and kind of outgoing, and his wife was very weathered, super weathered. Like she'd been left outside for 10 years. And having a conversation with my wife about it. And I said, well, some men want a mother type. A lot of men want a mother type. Maybe all men want a mother type. But I'm saying, the reason I'm saying this is because the Manchurian candidate handler is the person who managed you the most. And who is that? Anybody? 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 Who is it that managed your life the most until you somehow were able to break free or go off and do your own thing? And then even so, now you're looking for the next version of the manager, person who manages you. Now, some people say, well, God designed people to be different, and one to be the manager and the other to be a worker, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. Whatever. All I'm saying is you got a Manchurian candidate handler in your life somewhere. And if it isn't in a form of a human, it's in the form of a machine, a device, a feed of some sort. So do you have that essential time that you need? That moment of truth that arrives like the spiritual DoorDash? Knock, knock, knock. Truth, delivery. Not going to happen if you don't get quiet and allow for it. Just won't happen. That's why people, seriously, they scratch their heads and they just can't understand what's going on in their life. Sad. Sad indeed. You know, the first thing I start to do is how did I contribute to this? This is the first thing that I've always done since I was 16, 17 years old. That's just a natural thing. In what way, instead of pointing all the fingers, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you, by the way. Look at yourself. Know the truth and it shall make you free. But if you're not really inclined toward the truth and giving that truth some essential space for your mind, God help you. And he will with Be Still and Know exercise at FHU.com. You'll find out more. Be still and know. It is Psalm 46:10. It's in the Bible. I'll be right back.
You think I'm some weirdo? I wanted you to go to see a movie in which it explains how mass mind control works. With Frank Sinatra, get the copy, but you haven't done it. You haven't responded. I knew you wouldn't. I just knew it. But okay. I could help you much more quickly if you had that CD, that movie, and I could walk you through it, and it would be fascinating. It will help everybody in the country. It will help our politics. It will help our nation. It will help our CEI and FBI. The prisons would empty. All right. I'll deal with you one at a time, but I would like to have done that, and I'd like to have had an opportunity in university to explain all these things because it should be understood. I wish my government would, take me on and let me show them things they don't understand. The average psychiatrist doesn't understand it. As a matter of fact, he's a change agent. The chances are he went to a liberal school. He's a change agent teaching you wrong psychology and making you sicker. That's why there's so many pills, people on drug hypnosis. A pill for a psychological problem is drug hypnosis. Sorry. And I'll show you how that's done one of these days, but never mind. You'll figure it out one of these days by listening to me, please God. All right. Also, I was going to talk about, maybe Monday, I'll talk about Michael Jackson and I'll explain his behavior, why Geraldo Rivera thinks he's innocent, and he may very well be. And but I want to explain his behavior. He's a strange fellow, but he may not be a bad guy. Just foolish, but his behavior needs to be explained to you and to him. He doesn't understand his own behavior. Poor fellow. I wish Michael Jackson would give me a call and I could chat with him, and that saved me doing it publicly. I could explain it to him and he'd be a changed man. He'd become normal again. He doesn't understand the influences on his life. He's self-destructing. In his loving of children, he's self-destructing.
So what's the next step? Maybe the next step is we can send instructions and information to an actual person from a distance with this kind of technology to let another person control their actions. But that could be something that could be malicious.
If there's some way to do it from a distance, a much greater distance than something that you can wear on your scalp, that would be the ultimate technological achievement that would fall into this realm of mind control and direct human-machine interface that DARPA may well want to keep secret.
In the near future, DARPA may possess the technology to remotely control the human mind. But as concerning as that may be, according to some scientists, a more permanent kind of mind control technology is looming. And it involves modifying the human brain by altering the human body's DNA.
I love too much. That's what's the matter with me. That's what's wrong, but you don't understand the forces that make you a slave of that. lead you into this kind of folly. All right, we're going to go to Aaron in Mississippi. Hello, Aaron.
Roy, I wanted to talk to you about my father died about a week ago from cancer.
What kind of cancer was it?
It was bladder cancer to start with. It's one of the worst kind you can get.
I don't know. See, I don't know your father. I don't know his life. But majority of cancers are personality based. And I don't know, but medicine is not ready to understand the mysteries of cause and effect becoming cause, and the next cause becomes the effect of the next cause. And then one day it appears for what it is, and you treat the symptom as if it was the cause, and they die anyway. The root of most cancers is hatred. He may not appear to be angry on the surface.
Right. Well, when I was little, my dad divorced from my mom, and he was really a violent, angry guy. And
there you go.
He was alcoholic, and he had a job that put a lot of pressure on him.
Yes.
And then 10 years ago, he quit that job, and I noticed there was a change in my dad. He became less outwardly violent.
But inwardly, things never did change.
Right. I saw it turned inward on him, Roy, like it went inside of him.
That's correct. That's correct. I was right about that then, wasn't I?
And I have a family. This has to do with your brainwashing thing, because I deal with this every day, Roy, in Mississippi being a religious Bible belt. But
all brainwashed.
My family, I have 5 aunts that were my brother's sister, and particularly one of them is very emotionally religious, like you say.
Yes.
Very charismatic type person.
Yes.
But she and my uncle kind of took my dad under their wing. But during that time, my aunt talked to him about Jesus and Jesus this and, the whole spiel and all that.
Yes.
But I can see what they did was give my dad that false faith that steered him just enough off his course that I don't think my dad could ever find the answer that he was looking for.
You hit it right on the head.
And I didn't come to the truth, Roy, until about a year ago. I started to wake up, and I was listening to you. But my dad died a week ago, and I had actually bought your cancer CDs that I thought about giving my dad to let him listen, but I never did because I just never did it. I think it would have been hard for my dad to realize what he had come to believe and accept. Like you say, he was hypnotized.
Yes, indeed. Who isn't hypnotized until they are dehypnotized? That's the question. And hopefully this program is useful in a way that helps to identify what is actually going on so that you can disidentify or de-identify with the wrong ideas and allow the replacement with what's right. And that's the be still and know. That's what it really boils down to. You get quiet. God gave you this instruction, be still and know that I am your God, is what he said. God is never going to abandon you. You just abandon God. That's the way it works. So I do hope that you will support the program. Your donations are tax deductible. Don't get many. And, but those of you who do, we thank you. It does keep the wheels going. FHU.com or P.O. Box 1000, Grants Pass, Oregon 97528. And find out more about what is going on at FHU.com. Thanks all for listening. See you next time.
All righty then. Hey, bye-bye, Internet folks.